hello. I'm a bit low. Oh no, should I go a bit higher? That's better. I feel like I might have been a bit heavy-handed with the makeup today. I looked like death warmed up, so I threw on some makeup, and I think I might have gone a little bit overboard. I'm perhaps verging on drag queen, but we'll go with it. We will go with it. Right, I won't hang about. What was I going to do today? I was going to talk about the fear of missing out when it comes to makeup. And it's, I was about to say it's that time of year, but I don't feel as though it lets up at all throughout the year. And I think this is a particularly tough time to avoid buying things, I think. And that's with saying, I mean, some of the sales aren't even that good. You know, back in the day when it was Black Friday, it was worth getting out of bed for. But now that it's kind of become Black November, it makes it difficult because you've got a prolonged onslaught, basically, of things being thrown at you, pushed towards you at prices that are lower than normal. Not that low, not that low, but perhaps enough to entice you to open your wallet more often than not. So some time ago, I put up on Instagram a poll, or like one of those sort of question boxes, which was asking people, how do you avoid the FOMO? What techniques do you employ when you're seeing all these releases, all these launches coming out, some of these sales happening? What do you do to resist the temptation and not feel like you have to buy everything? So I'm going to share some of those tips with you today. That's the plan. And if anyone has any tips along the way, do please share them now as well, because we need all the help that we can get. Maybe the fact that the prices haven't been slashed is enough of a deterrent. Maybe you're thinking to yourselves, if it's not 30% or more, then I'm not interested. So maybe that in itself is enough to make you not want to open up those purse strings. So there is that. So one person said they just avoid places that sell makeup. I don't know how they do this, because everywhere seems to sell makeup. And if you're on Instagram and you're scrolling, you'll see the releases. If you go out to the shops, inevitably there'll be, if not like a Space NK or a Sephora, one of those, there'll be like a Boots or a Superdrug. And so that's very English. What maybe a CVS. What else is there in the States? Target? They sell makeup in Target, don't they? I think they do. I think so. So avoiding makeup altogether, that seems like a challenge. But I thought I'd share that one with you anyway, in case that is something that you can actually achieve, that is realistic for you to be able to achieve, just to avoid it completely. So there is that. Now, if you already have a lot of makeup, I mean, this goes both ways, doesn't it? If you already have a lot of makeup, you're almost predisposed to keep acquiring makeup. I might fall into that category a little bit, I'm not going to lie. But if you're sensible and you look at what you already have, there is a good chance that you can BYOP a lot of these new releases, a lot of them. Something that I'm trying to do more of, and definitely in 2026, I want to explore, scratch that itch a bit more. because I think that once you do hit a certain point, you inevitably you are going to have every shadow possible. You know, if you're a collector, eventually you'll have every shade possible. So perhaps the route is to ensure that when you are buying, as much of the palettes that you're getting are maybe singles or in magnetic pans, because then it does make it easier for you to BYOP. And when you see a new palette that comes out and you're really, really drawn to it, you can take the time to sift through what you've got. If you've got a few Z palettes, and just have a bit of an experiment, see how close you can get. Will you get spot on? Perhaps not. You might not get it identical, but there's a good chance you get it pretty close. And there are certain shades where really, once it's on your eyeball, can you really tell the difference? Can you? Probably not. Probably not. And if you're saying yes, you can, are you being honest with yourself? Are you? So that's something. So whenever you get a new, I know a lot of this is sort of common sense, but like in that spur of the moment when there's a launch in front of you, there is that moment, that instinctual, I must have it. I must have it. And common sense just flies out the window. I've been there. I've been there. And another thing I'm trying to do at the moment is put things in my basket, but just don't check out straight away. Ruminate on it. Think to yourself, okay, I like this palette. Why do I like this palette? Is it because I already have it? Or is it because I've got things that are really similar to this palette? Keep it in your basket for a while. Keep it in there, especially if you've got other untouched palettes. It's not going anywhere, and if it does sell out, presuming it's not a limited edition, there's a good chance it's going to get restocked. So you've got time. You've got time. Today, for example, I put in the Merry Chrissy. Is it called Merry Chrissy? The Glaminatrix one. It's currently in my basket on the Glaminatrix website. And I'm holding fire because I know full well that I'm not probably going to get around to looking at that palette in great detail, or like really getting stuck into that palette straight away. There is no point in me ordering it right now because it's going to go to the bottom of a rather large pile. So I might as well wait. I might as well wait. Will I wait long enough for it to go on sale? I don't know if it will go on sale because it's a Christmas palette and it's limited edition. Chances are maybe there'll be one restock, and if it proves to be popular, perhaps they'll bring it back again next Christmas. But don't necessarily always buy things at release, which again makes you think to yourself, oh, yeah, but it's Black Friday. It's Black Friday. Maybe I should buy it now. But then, has anyone else noticed sometimes that you'll have the Black Friday sales, but then there'll be other times of years where they've actually got steeper discounts? I think a lot of brands do maybe 20, 25%, 30 if you're lucky. But I'm sure there are times in the year where they drop as low as 40, where they give you 40% off. So that's something to bear in mind as well. So don't always, I don't think it's a good idea to buy stuff at release in general anyway. I always think it's worth waiting. I've bought stuff at release for like review purposes. If I know it's something I'm going to get quite quickly and I can get up a review, then sometimes I will buy at release. But 2026, I think I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait. And I think a good thing about waiting also is that you can wait for certain waves of releases. So earlier on this year, we had like a mermaid wave and like an ocean wave. And maybe you bought the first one, but it turns out that your favorite was the last one. And then you've perhaps acquired maybe 4 or 5 mermaid palettes, but then you realize that the one that you actually like is the last one that you've bought. And if you'd waited, you could have just bought that one. So there's that. There is that. I try to, like on my stories, I try to do comparison shots. So one of the recent comparisons I did actually was comparing Chris Kindlemarked and Mary Chrissy from Glaminatrix. I think they pair nicely. So you've got Come Play With Us, Mary Chrissy, and Chris Kindlemarked, and those are like three of the three of the Christmas releases that have caught my eye, and they're related, I would say. And I'm quite glad that I didn't, I mean, I wasn't drawn enough, I wasn't compelled enough to get to Come Play With Me. And I'm glad I've sort of sat tight on that because I definitely much prefer Chris Kindlemarked and I just said the name, Mary Chrissy. I definitely prefer those two. And that's the thing, I think, because of that fear of maybe missing out or not being the first to get something, you could sort of jump the gun a little bit and maybe buy that first Christmas release that has a sort of similar-ish colour story, because there's definitely some elements in there that are repeated across the three palettes. But then if you've bought Come Play With Us, then you might think to yourself, oh, I wish I'd waited now, because then I'd have just got Chris Kindlemarked, or I'd have just got Mary Chrissy. You might want to get all three. Fill your boots if you want to get all three. Could I justify getting all three? I mean, I don't want Come Play With Us anyway. That one doesn't grab me as much as the other two do. Has anyone else got any thoughts on these three Christmas palettes? Those are the three sort of top contenders of like the traditional Christmas palettes. At least that's what I think. Oh, I was wondering why I couldn't see comments. There, now I can see them. There we go. They weren't popping up before. I'd rather pay full price for something I really need, even if it's not on sale, than go bonkers during Black Friday because I take advantage of a deal on something I don't know I would like. I think that makes sense. I think sometimes you fall into that trap, don't you, of getting something that you weren't actually that fussed about just because it ends up being on sale. So it's not even necessarily that you want it, it's just, oh, well, actually, that's too good of a deal to pass up on. But is it too good of a deal if you didn't want it in the first place? There's always that. 25% on multiplications during the Glaminatrix doesn't do a lot of sales though. Yeah, I mean, the thing that's a bit disappointing with Glaminatrix actually, and someone did point it out as a comment underneath their Black Friday post, a lot of stuff isn't in stock. So it's a bit, I mean, should brands do a big restock before a sale? Do you think that's what's the word, like a bit cheeky to have a, well, it's not even a deep discount, but to have a decent sale, like a sale that you don't normally do? Is it a bit cheeky to have a sale like that when most of the stuff that people are going to want isn't even in stock? I do feel that's a bit, if you've been waiting and then for a good sale and then suddenly there's just actually nothing there, it takes the fun out of it, really, having a sale. I don't think, is there anything on Glaminatrix I want? I don't think so, because when I was on there before, the only thing really that I was interested in was Mary Chrissy. I've been umming and ahhing on Bonfire, and it's one of those things, maybe if Bonfire had been in stock, that might have been something that I would have grabbed. But in a way, I'm kind of relieved it's not, because I won't end up getting it. I won't get it. Yeah, and I think, so linked to what I was saying before, someone else has said, wait for all of the seasonal releases to drop and then decide what you want rather than buying as you go, because you, as I say, you run that risk of finding that there's another palette that comes out later that is quite similar to one, but you prefer it. Maybe it's a bit warmer or cooler, or it's the color scheme actually suits your skin tone better. So for example, now might be a good time to be looking at all the palettes that came out for Halloween and deciding which ones that you want, rather than getting that first one and then realizing that you like one, two releases later that you prefer much more. Yeah, a lot of deals, they aren't worth it anymore. It's not like it used to be. And a part of me, I think I would prefer it if brands just, rather than have these prolonged sales for the entirety of November into December, I'd almost prefer it if they had one big blowout Black Friday weekend, like it used to be, where you'd pre-plan and you'd put everything in your basket that you genuinely want, and you'd wait for that sale to hit in, and you'd rush to check out. I mean, that's almost half the fun of it. Would you be disappointed if some of the stuff that you had wanted sold out and you didn't quite get it? Possibly, but would you be even more chuffed if you'd managed to get that palette that you've been wanting for ages for like 60% off? That would be pretty sweet, wouldn't it? Let's see what's going on here. Oh, Unearthly had 60% off. When was that? I missed that. Not that I'm buying from Unearthly at the moment, but I still. Yeah, 48 hours only. I mean, 25% off though. I think a shorter period and a steeper discount. I think that would be better. But I guess a lot of the companies are doing what's going to benefit them the most financially. And that's going to be having it on for longer, but not as big of a discount. Um, or even if brands are worried about perhaps losing the money, have like a sale stock, cap it if you must, like first come, first serve. I don't know, but I'd almost rather. Oh, is it 35 for blended one? I thought it was 25 for some reason. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was 25. And being in the UK, yeah, as you say, the international shipping negates a lot of the savings that you get. So I did do a Gourmand Girls order because they had 40% off. They're having a rebrand slash um, Black Friday sale. So 40% off. I thought that was pretty good. And I've split that with someone so it doesn't eat into as much of the saving that you would get from the sales. Yeah, I was a bit, because Glisten have had 30% off the non-Glisten brands before. I was really surprised at that to see on the website that it was just 25% off, because you can get 25% off all year round. Well, if you're spending more than £50 and you save 25, that's going to give you 25% off. And they have, I think when they restocked, there was a time when they restocked, I think, some of the Ellis stuff and the Jordan Liberty stuff, and they had 30% off then. So I thought it was very odd that they're only giving 25% off other brands that they stock. I thought they could have gone a bit higher. I thought. My stomach is making some very interesting noises. I don't know why it's doing that. Yeah, so a lot of people, so when I put that question box up, a lot of people did say just like wait for the season to be over. So once it's Halloween, look at all the Halloween releases. Once it's Christmas, wait for all the Christmas releases and then pick one, because you might really love a color story that someone has done, but then your favorite brand with formulas that you love even more could do a really similar color story, and then you'll be kicking yourself for like jumping at that color story that you really, really love, only to find that your favorite brand has done it and done it better. So it's definitely always worth, I think, waiting for the end of a season, reviewing all the releases that there have been, and then taking the plunge and making a purchase. See, I don't actually know who Jordan Liberty is either. I'll be honest. I'd never heard of him. I'd never come across him. I have got. Is it within arm's distance? It is. I didn't get the big one because I wasn't sold on a lot of the shade names in there, but I did pick this up because I thought it was beautiful. Haven't touched it yet. Haven't touched it. But I thought that the shades in here were stunning, and I think that they would be very flattering on a deeper skin tone. So I did pick this up when was it even as much as 35% off? I just remember I got a really good deal on that, and that's the time I'm talking about when there was like a restock on Glisten, and they did a quite a steep discount on non-Glisten brands. So I thought it was a real shame that they've only gone with 25% off, which you can get all the time. And affiliate, don't get me wrong, I'm quite happy that affiliate Glisten codes give you 20% off rather than 10, which is the usual. But yeah, I've a bit more of a discount Glisten. Come on, guys, come on. Okay, where did you meet him? I mean, I've heard nothing but like nice things about him. Like I've not heard any bad things said about Jordan Liberty at all. Only positive. But I've never come across him before. I'd never heard of him at all. But then that's not saying much because a lot of the times I live under a rock and it takes me a long time to find out about a lot of people. So don't ask me. Someone else has said that they avoid FOMO because, if they've got no money, they're not buying anything. So how can you have FOMO when you've got no money? That tickled me. Okay, yeah. I don't know if or maybe that's what it was actually. Maybe I got the 35% off. I'm gonna have to look at that now. Let me look that up because I have a distinct memory of it being quite a chunky discount that I got. Let's see, Jordan Liberty. Hi, Eden. Oh, it's not going to come up, is it? It's annoying. Someone else said something which I thought was interesting, which I feel that sometimes you get the overwhelm. So honestly, many brands release too many things. You don't even manage to get one before the brand releases another. So it's easy for me to move on because I know in a few days there'll be another release. And I wonder if sometimes, because I go through periods of time where I want everything and I buy everything, which is quite bad. But then other times where I'm so overwhelmed that I'm just letting all these releases pass me by because I can't keep up and it's too much. And I feel like for me, I've had a very quiet time. I think the last purchase I made before the one I've just made, like the Gourmand Girls order I just did, I bought Nevermore. But the last thing I bought before then was Lightwork 7. And before that, I'm not sure. So I do feel like I have slowed down a lot towards the end of the year, as like the more releases there've been, the less I've spent because there's just been too much and I haven't been able to pinpoint something that I want. And I wonder if brands need to be weary of that because wary, not weary, weary, tired. They need to be wary of that because if you're overloading your customer base, you run the risk of them just being like, no, it's too much. I can't cope. I'm not buying anything. I did skip the monolith sale in the end. I didn't realize that it was only for such a short period of time. I I'd put everything I wanted in my basket, like before the sale started, before I even knew what the discounts were going to be. Everything I'd had my eye on, I put in my basket because I thought to myself, if it's a decent enough discount, I'll get it in the monolith sale. Bearing in mind that monolith inflate their prices a lot. So for it to really be a worthwhile sale, they're going to have to really slash the prices. And then once everything was in my basket, it came to something stupid like £500 or £600, and I started removing things, taking things out, things that I wasn't overly, that I was keen on, but not overly so. Or if the discount wasn't steep enough, it was all of it was coming out of my basket until I think I ended up with maybe two or three things, one of which sold out. And then when I looked at the two things that were left, I thought, I don't know. And then by the time I thought to myself, oh, I might actually pick them up, I think one of them was um, Chapter 2. What's that brand? That New Zealand brand, the name of which I've just... Question Beauty. Yeah, Chapter 2, Question Beauty. I thought to myself, actually, do you know what? I do want to try the brand. Chapter 2 is the one that's caught my eye the most. I'll go and get that. And the sale was over. So maybe I must have read it wrong. I didn't realize it was going to be as over as quickly as that. But why would you have a Black Friday sale that ends like almost 2 weeks before Black Friday? Very odd to me. So I didn't end up buying anything from Monolith. I've noticed that with Monolith as well. And so I've noticed that anything that has been in the sale section suddenly goes full price for a couple of weeks before the sale, and they drop it to what is not to this a sale price that isn't as low as the sale price it was at before they put the price up again. Because I've noticed that because I've been keeping an eye on certain palettes. I'm trying to think of one that happened with Drops of Fantasy. I mean, I'm annoyed. I think I paid close to full price, or maybe a little bit of a sale. Then it went down even more, and I was keeping an eye on it, and then it went up again, just to come down again, but not by as much as it was before. But that's a tactic that a lot of brands use with sales. Right before sales, they'll put prices up, right around the time that they suspect people are going to be keeping an eye on prices for things that they particularly want. That's about the time that they'll put them up. So that when they do reduce them, you'll think that you're getting a bargain when in reality it's been cheaper than that before. I don't know how many people, well, there's probably not many, but if anyone is familiar with Martin Lewis, he talks about that a lot in the UK, how a lot of like shops, a lot of retailers do that. They'll hike the price of something just to be able to give the impression that it's been slashed in price when in all reality it hasn't. Yeah, so I almost bought. I'm really glad I didn't buy it from Monolith because I was looking at all the Adept Cosmetics palettes actually because I'm quite enjoying their releases. Are they a bit samey? Perhaps. Yes, they are a little bit samey, but there is just something about Adept Cosmetics that I really really like. And I nearly bought. That was one of the things that was in my basket actually. EBEs. I'm kind of annoyed I didn't get it, but now that not Glaminatrix, now that Adept seem to have worked out the shipping, I know it's only on Renal at the moment, but I'm hoping it's going to go across the website. That could be a brand that I'd buy more from in the future now that the shipping looks like it's going to be more reasonable. It's kind of annoying it was only Renal, and I'm also annoyed because there was a period of time where shipping was free, And I'm really annoyed at myself because it was for Renault, which I think is perhaps the only palette that's available internationally while they're working out the whole shipping thing. Um, I had it in my basket, and I remember I was awake at stupid o'clock in the morning. It was like it must have been about 2:30 in the morning, and I had it in my basket because I was umming and ahhing over whether I wanted Renault or EBEs. And I just when I thought to myself, do you know what? It's going to be 45 quid to get it to you, free shipping. Just do it. And then it ticked over. The price went up a little bit, and then it started charging the shipping. And not that it put me off, but then I kind of thought to myself, well, maybe this is a good thing because after analysing the swatches, I think I do prefer EBEs, and I think that's the one I want to get. And I can wait. I can wait for EBEs. Catching up on. Yeah, like your Glaminatrix, they don't have anything available at all. I think it's like the new release, and I think the only other palette available is it's tones of I don't know. There's not much available at all, and that's what I mean. I feel like it's a bit cheeky to launch a sale knowing that you don't have the stock. I'd almost say I think I'd put my hands up and say, do you know what, guys, we're not going to do a sale right now because we just don't have the stock to make it worthwhile. So once we have a restock and we've got everything, we're going to do a flash sale for 24 hours or 48 hours, whatever it might be, just to allow you to get all the things that you've been waiting for in one go. Because what what's the point really? I don't think it's worthwhile. So, yeah, exactly. And that's the issue that I have with um, when there is a good Black Friday sale in the States, if it's 35 or 40%, the shipping just wipes out the saving, which makes you like not want to get it. I've made a calculated decision. Apparently, Gourmand Girls UK is coming, and I did say to myself that I wasn't going to buy anything from Gourmand Girls until Gourmand Girls UK launched. But when they had the 40% off, I thought to myself, do you know what? If I buddy up with at least one other person, but preferably two or three, and we split the shipping, it's going to be worthwhile for all of us. In the end, I think well, not I think, I know I've only buddied up with one person, but I think it's going to make it worthwhile. Yeah, definitely. You've got to buddy up. And it's funny, Christina, she was lovely actually. She shared my story. She did when I posted it on IG and I said, "Oh, does anyone in the UK want to do like buddy up to do an order?" And I did think to myself when she did it, I'm either going to get like an influx of people messaging me or it's going to be tumbleweed. And it was tumbleweed. It was tumbleweed. A few people were kind of a little bit interested, but then they kind of I think they were holding out for other Black Friday sales and perhaps decided not to get anything from the Gourmand Girl sale, which is fair enough. Um, but yeah, if it's an international order like that, you need to have have like a buddy system going to make it worthwhile because every penny that you save from it being 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, whatever it might be, you just spend on the shipping instead, which could be a calculated decision. You might think to yourself, actually, by the time I've done the conversion, it's still worth getting it from abroad and paying the postage. It might just bring it up to a reasonable amount in general if you're shopping from abroad. I think if it makes it cheaper than buying from Monolith, do it. So I worked out that getting it from Gourmand Girls US website, like the Nevermore palette, especially because it's one of the newer releases, it wasn't in the Black Friday sale on Monolith. So it made sense to get it direct from Gourmand Girls when they had the 40% off. and they still have it. So someone else said, like, one, well, I don't necessarily think if it's avoiding the FOMO as such, but I know that in America and Canada, sometimes when you have a sale, it's in a similar way that you get any discount gets eaten by shipping. A lot of the discount will get eaten by the sales tax, and I know that varies from state to state depending on where you are. So a lot of people just see the Sephora sale as an opportunity to sort of stock up on staples rather than indulge in a sale. So maybe they'll use it to get, like, the foundation, the concealer, that kind of thing, maybe a mascara, and they'll wait for to drop like bigger money on maybe things like, maybe I'm biased when I say eyeshadow palettes, but I think that's something that you would probably wait for Black Friday for, and then Sephora sales, that's just reserved for your everyday staples that you might have. At the moment, I've only got Calavera from Gourmand Girls, and I really like that palette. I really do. I was very, very pleasantly surprised by that. And I've been wanting to try more from them based on what, like, how I found Calavera to be. I think from what I've heard that their formula has improved. So Ella Kinkley, she reviewed Nevermore and Trapped together, and she had said that she tried Gourmand Girls in the past, had been unimpressed, and so never tried them again. But then she'd been in communication with Christina. Christina sent her those palettes, and she's really enjoyed them. And just from hearing other people talk about um, Gourmand Girls, I've wanted to try more from them. I can't comment on anything obviously older than Calavera, but I'll let you know what I think if once I get Nevermore, if the formula is like their current releases, I'll keep you posted. I don't know. Well, apparently it's going to arrive on Friday. Would I have time to do a video with Nevermore? Let me see what I can do. Let me see if I can get a video doing a first impressions of Nevermore when I get hold of it. I don't know if I'll quite have the time, but I'll see. Or it might be that I can film it, but it might not be up for a while, because that's just how it goes. You probably have noticed I haven't been posting a lot of videos lately because I've just been busy. Let's see. Okay, Gourmand Girls on Vinted. I think I'm trying to keep my eye out on Vinted for people reselling um, US indie brands, like maybe that have got something and a decluttering. So that's what I'm trying to keep my eye on Vinted to see. Throat's parched. I missed that. That's interesting about maybe I'll go and watch a review or two from Rachel Palmieri and see what she's got to say. But yeah, I'll reserve judgment until I've got Nevermore in my hand. I've tried Mitchell, but like his old stuff. So one of the things I was thinking of doing early next year is revisiting Feet on the Ground and Head in the Cloud. So those are two of his old school, like when he first launched his brand, those are two palettes he released, and I have those. And I remember really liking those. So I want to do a video seeing if they have stood the test of time, like how they hold up however many years later. I'm going to be, what's the word I'm thinking of here? I'll be gentle because obviously they're old palettes at this point. So there are certain things I'll keep in mind when I'm doing that video, but I want to see how they've held up. But I did get the Sunset Chaser palette, and there's a video on that. I did not like that palette. I've got it. I've got it kind of to one side, almost ready to declutter, but there's one shade in it that I do really like. There's like this green, I don't know how to do this, like a foresty, satiny, shimmery green that I was thinking I would depot from that palette and keep. But I have heard from a lot of people that the quality of his eyeshadow palettes now is not the one. I've heard that from a lot of people who've bought his recent launches, his like recent eyeshadow palettes, and have really not liked them at all. But as I say, I do remember really liking Head in the Clouds, Feet on the Ground. I did dip into them towards the beginning of when I started my channel. I did like a full face of Made by Mitchell, but that's a good while ago. I can maybe revisit that, do another full face of Made by Mitchell using those palettes. And I haven't tried Give Me Glow. That's I'm curious about Give Me Glow. And I was tempted. They've got a sale, I think, where they've got 40% off. And I think you can get 40% off a lot of the older stock. And they're being a bit different because they're giving you 15% even on the newer stock. And the code stack. So that's quite a good thing for them to do. Is that the give Down to Earth, I think. See, Down to Earth I found is pretty, but it's like an expanded version of Pacific Northwest. And I don't know, maybe it's one of those things, maybe I should get Down to Earth to be able to try the formula rather than getting Pacific Northwest. But I'm just inclined to get Pacific Northwest because Nomad Cosmetics is one of those brands, especially from buying multiple palettes, it's not that expensive to get it to me, not like with other brands. And they're about to have their ongoing sales. So I plan on doing a Nomad Cosmetics order when they do the Cyber Monday sale, and it's 30% off site-wide. I do have, funny enough, you mentioned the curve cases. I've got one of them beside me here. This is Deeper Than Deep, yeah. So this is the Deeper Than Deep one, which I haven't used that much. I've used it a little bit. Like you can see the usage there, not much. Whereas, have I got the other curve case by me? Yes. This is the deep curve case, so you can see that's got a lot more use there. I rate them. I do like these curve cases. I haven't tried like the highlighter one, but I have heard good things about that one too. But I find myself reaching for this quite a lot, especially I think you can see there Cherry Cola has got like a very big divot in there. That's Cherry Cola there. And then Cowlick next to it. I reach for that quite a lot. I'm trying to reach for the oranges a bit more, but yeah, Cherry Cola and Cowlick I reach for all the time. And you can see that I've got a pretty decent divot in Blend and Snatch here as well. If you can pick the curve cases up on a sale, I'd 100% go for it. I think they are absolutely worth it, definitely. I've heard good things about the color cases too. The color cases I haven't tried, but I could be tempted to, because I think that they could provide really nice bases, like eye bases and things like that. So I think they could be worth having as well. I'd pick up one or two of those to try too, definitely. I think someone else said one of the ways they get over the FOMO is they just kind of they have like a spreadsheet of things that they want, and whenever there is a new, like, things they have, things they want, and whenever there's like a new release, it's a case of cross referencing. I think sometimes you almost have to be scientific about these things. I think if you go with your emotions, you could end up just buying everything. But if I know a lot of people who have like full on Excel spreadsheets where they have their full collection documented with the type of color story, whether it's like bright, whether it's warm, cool, neutral, all those kinds of things, so that when a new palette comes out, they can kind of take the details of that palette, look at their spreadsheet, and decide whether or not they're going to get it. For some people, that might be a lot of effort. That sounds like something I could probably end up doing down the line. I love an Excel spreadsheet. I'm not going to lie. I have an Excel spreadsheet for my personal finances. So I'm definitely a fan. But I know that's not for everyone. I think another thing that I do as well is every time I get a new palette, I take a picture of it. And what I'm trying to do these days is to, hi Polly, what I'm trying to do these days is to scroll through. So if there's a new release, I'll go to my palette folder in my phone and I'll scroll through to see what I've got. And I think that's going to make it much easier for me to do scratch that itch videos in the future. So what I'm thinking of doing in 2026 when I've got, oh, I didn't know down to earth was magnetic. That's a selling point. It never used to be for me. I never used to care. But going forward, if I want to build my own palettes and do scratch that itch videos, it's going to be handy to have more magnetic pans. It'll be a lot easier to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I got those sampler palettes as well. Now, I know when it comes to formula, I'm not going to be able to emulate the formula unless I'm maybe duping a palette using their historic releases, then the formula is going to be on par. I think the formula in sampler for the price point is exceptional. I'm still editing my sampler video. I need to finish editing that and get that up ASAP. I've only done looks with the first palette, and I'm debating whether or not it's worth bothering to do looks with the other three, because you get the idea just from watching that first one. But let me know if you want to see me do videos with all four of the sampler palettes. But I did Energy, that first one, and honestly, for £12 a go, because I did debate it, I bought all four at once. So obviously buying all four at once works out quite expensive because you know it's multiple palettes, but each one is 25 shades, 12 quid. Yeah, could prove handy, could prove useful for building palettes down the line. Is it better than Beauty Bay sampler? Let me come back to you on that, because I don't, there was like a weird dip. So I didn't like, what was that really light, Dreamer, Daydreamer, didn't like that one. But that was more the color story than the actual formula, I think. And then for some reason, Desert Haze creases on me horrifically. I don't know why. I've gone back to it so many times and it creases so badly on me. And I'm thinking to myself, but is it not the same formula? Why is it creasing? But then I've used the latest one. it's also got these dark lights, no creasing whatsoever, none. Really like that palette. So I don't know what's going on with the Beauty Bay formula. I have just picked up Midnight. I was waiting for it to be on sale, and I thought to myself, wait for it to be a tenner, but I don't think it's going to be a tenner for a while because it's in the new packaging. So I thought maybe just wait for it to be on a sale. Oh, my little light's gone off. So apologies if it's dark now. I was like, wait for it to be on a sale, and I got 30% off on TikTok. So I bought Midnight and the mini neutral charms. I thought bargain. So that's on its way to me. So let me do, maybe I can compare Midnight with the blues from the sampler palette. Maybe I can do one on each eye, and then I'll, because I can do a direct comparison there. I think, like off the top of my head, I think I prefer the Beauty Bay formula to sampler. That's what I think. But it's still pretty decent. Beauty Bay, for the price, is exceptional. Beauty Bay is really, really good to the point where it makes me wonder how they do it. I think if you can get their big palettes when they're £10 each, because I know they go down to £10 quite often at the moment because of the fact that they're rebranding. If you can get those big palettes for a tenner, I think they're worth having. I really, really do. Then obviously they're not really palettes you can travel with. I mean, if you prefer something smaller, by all means go for the limited edition ones they do, or like the 16 pan variations. But I like to get the big ones because they're just, you'll get dupes in that palette, like you will, but that just means if you hit pan on one shade, there's probably going to be another shade that's quite similar for you to use. And I say that as someone who's never hit pan and is probably never going to hit pan. Yeah, like I wouldn't compare Beauty Bay to Titanium Foxes. Titanium Foxes blows Beauty Bay out of the water. There's just no comparison. But if you're on a budget and you're after a particular color story, Beauty Bay would be a realistic option. I think you've got choices, you've got options with Beauty Bay, but it's not going to compare to your Titanium Foxes, your Glaminatrix Cosmetics, your Blend Bunny. It's just it no. I love Titanium Foxes. I don't know what Clara puts in that formula, but Titanium Foxes is, yeah, I love that formula. I love that formula. I think Titanium Foxes could be one of those brown brands that I would be like a completionist, like a collectionist for. I really, really enjoy the formula of Titanium Fox's palettes. Um, I would I say it's my favorite? I, mm, I really enjoy it. Yeah, pure sorcery. I genuinely think that Clara has used sorcery on in her formula, because there's just something about Titanium Foxes. Yeah, they're just beautiful. They really are. I haven't tried the blush palette yet from Titanium Foxes, and the main reason is because I didn't want to buy it on its own. So I will eventually try it, I think, but it will probably be a while because the pattern for Titanium Foxes seems to be that they release like sister palettes. So I imagine there'll be like another release, and then I'll wait until the second palette in that duo is released, and I'll buy them both together. And maybe at that point, I'll throw in the blush palette. But I'm not in any rush to get it just yet. If for some reason, if there's a sale in between now and then, I could be tempted because shipping's not too bad. I think it's maybe €9, so that's not horrendous. But I think I'm inclined to wait until there's a duo available, and then I'll add the blush palette in there. I love how this is meant to be about avoiding the FOMO, and I've just talked about all the stuff that I want to get. Well, maybe not all the stuff. I've done a little bit of avoiding the FOMO, a little bit. But yeah, Titanium Foxes is a brand that's absolutely worth giving a go. Yeah, I think the sampler formula so I'd put them together. It's like sampler and Beauty Bay. I think that they're great for people on a budget, or if you want like a treat, or let's say someone who's new to makeup or something, or just, maybe you don't want to travel with your expensive palettes because you don't want to run the risk of them being damaged. So you take one of your limited edition Beauty Bay palettes with you, or you get your sampler palette and you create your own. Do I have the mini case? Yeah. So when I bought the sampler palettes, I bought them all as the bundles, and you get like this mini magnetic palette, and this fits 8 pans inside. I think it was 8. So these are quite handy as well to be able to create your own mini travel palettes that you can take with you. So I think Sampler have done well in that little ecosystem that they've built there. So I think they've done a good job. That's true. I think a huge way of avoiding the FOMO is just looking at what you've got already. I think sometimes it's easy to buy a palette, use it for a week or two, put it in your drawer, and almost forget that you've bought it. I've kind of like, you can see it a little bit. Maybe I'll do a tour, but that's like my new makeup shelf now. It used to be a bit smaller, but I think that having it on a shelf like that, having it available and seeing it all the time, for me, that helps, definitely. I think if you've got drawers, it's very much out of sight, out of mind. Like if your makeup is in drawers. And I think, especially like, I don't want to go any bigger than that. That's as much makeup as I want to have. So I do have room to grow, but I don't want to overdo it. I don't want to, just because I have shelf space doesn't necessarily mean I should fill all of that shelf space. And if I ever get to a point where I fill it, I'm going to force myself to do declutters more. But I think I just want to, like next year especially, I just want to enjoy what I've got. I need to, yeah, I want to enjoy what I've got, use what I've got, love what I've got, and remember what I've got. I think that's the case. I think it's just remembering what you have, and set yourself a challenge of, oh, bye. Just saw that. Yeah, set yourself a challenge. If a new palette comes out, rack your brain, think to yourself, what do I have that's similar? And if you're seeing people do certain styles and you see someone do a particular look and it's that look that sold you on your palette, what have you got that you could use to create that look? You probably got something. You probably do. So I think that's something to bear in mind. And at the end of the day, though, and I think it's funny because it's something I was thinking, and then Deandra posted it as a story earlier. She kind of vocalized exactly what I was thinking. Let's see, here it is. So I'm just going to read it verbatim because I just think it was quite good. With all the amazing Black Friday sale, sales this holiday season, remember to shop smartly. Look at your collection and see what you have. Take note of what you have, what's unused, and why. Declutter to make room for the new. Don't give in to the FOMO. And that's why I thought it was funny that she posted this today, because obviously I knew I was going to be doing this live about the FOMO, especially because of, Black Friday sales. But also, that's your money and you can buy what you want. Life is short and joy is fleeting. If a new palette is going to bring you some joy, especially when it's so difficult these days to find it, then please enjoy it and don't let someone guilt you into feeling bad about it by berating you about consumerism or capitalism. Please don't bankrupt yourself over makeup. Please take stock of what you have and try not to just give in to FOMO. But if it's within your budget and you want it, do it. You're an adult. Happy shopping or not. That's your call, always. And I think that's the main thing. It's just don't go broke over makeup. Don't bank your up to yourself over makeup. If you've got the funds to do it and it brings you the joy, then do it. I've sometimes felt a bit guilty and been like, oh, should I be buying that eyeshadow palette? Should I, especially when it's an expensive eyeshadow palette. And I think to myself, yeah, but it's my money. I've worked for it. And it's been a shit year. So, yes, I'm going to buy that damn palette. If it's going to put a smile on my face and make me feel a little bit happy and get a bit of escapism, and if I can sit here, like even just putting this makeup on before I sat down to do this live, just made me feel better about myself, so just I looked a bit meh because I'm tired. I hope you can't see my ginormous bags under my eyes, possibly a bit more now that that light's gone off. But makeup is a joy thing for me. It's my hobby. I love it. And Lord knows there are more expensive habits than makeup. Don't get me wrong, makeup is not a cheap hobby. It's definitely not. But there are more expensive ones out there. And I think that's the main thing. Like, don't lose sight of it. Don't necessarily buy something for the sake of it. But at the end of the day, it's your money. It is your money. And if you can afford it, then it's nobody else's business. It's nobody else's business. I get that. It's fine. It's that balance, isn't it? I guess, of the joy versus the, but am I going to use it all? I get that. So I guess it's walking that tightrope, isn't it? But then it's one of those, to Deandra's point about people sort of berating people about overconsumption and consumerism and all that kind of thing. That I do get. And maybe that's what it is. It's more about, if you're bringing in new things that are bringing you joy, look at the things that aren't anymore and give those, like, re-gift them, give them to other people, that kind of thing, rather than like hoarding it all. I think, I don't know, it's that delicate balance. Sometimes I run that gauntlet of, okay, well, I really like that palette. Could I dupe it? Possibly, yes, but I'd need maybe 2 or 3 palettes to dupe it. And that's what sways me to get something, for example, the ease of it. And that's why I think going forward, I'll find it easier to not buy things the more magnetic palettes I do end up having. And I'm not saying I'm just going to go nuts buying palettes that happen to be magnetic just to be able to BYOP things down the line. I'm still going to, when I do scratch that itches, as long as I can do it with 2 palettes maximum, like I'm still going to do that. But I don't know, sometimes joy wins out and you just want it, so you just buy it. And sometimes that's okay. Sometimes that's okay. I don't know, maybe that's just me trying to justify buying lots. Oh, hi Tanya. Yeah. But I think I definitely see me buying less in 2026. I do think so. I think I went a little bit nuts. And I think partly because I started the channel, really. I think I was excited, I maybe got a bit carried away. There's probably things that I've bought that I wouldn't have bought if I didn't have a channel. And I do think that 2026 onwards is going to see me have a little bit of a shift. Like I'm still going to talk about new makeup and do new makeup videos because they're like the most popular videos I do. So I'm going to keep doing those. People seem to like watching those. And scratch that itch is going to be more prominent, and maybe things like Basket of Shame is going to be more featured, and like Throwback Thursday type videos where I maybe revisit things that I've loved and put away, to like rekindle that love that used to be. That was kind of like my tagline when I first started, like rekindling a love of makeup. So maybe it's going to be rekindling a love of a palette that I've got. So I definitely want to focus more on using what I've got and just chatting. So I'll try and do lives where I can, like this. Um, one a month, two a month, maybe. I'll see how I go. It depends what my schedule is like when 2026 rolls around. Um, and thank you to everyone who's been checking in on me as well. I've been meaning to say, because a few people have sort of messaged and been like, "Where are you? You haven't been posting." And I'll go, "I'm here. I'm here. I'm just busy with work. Busy sort of being there for my mum who is doing better. Um, her chemo's come to an end, which is a relief. So she's gonna have a bit of a rest, and hopefully she'll feel better in time for Christmas and stuff. So I am here. I am here, just not posting as much, just because life, life. But I'm feeling positive about 2026, and yeah, let's see what the next year brings. Yeah, there's definitely. I think I think I'll eventually get to a point where I'll start exercising like a bit of a one in, one out rule when it comes to my eyeshadow palettes. Um, we were talking before about how people buy off Vinted. So Vinted is an option for maybe me selling or regifting or whatever. So that's a possibility. Um, and it's not so much, I'm not sort of slowing down with the spending next year because of like capitalism, consumerism, or whatever like that. It's just because I'm aware I have a lot. And I do just want to love what I have. I want to enjoy what I have rather than feeling that always need to buy new stuff. That's not to say I'm not going to buy any new releases next year. Clearly, I'm going to, but I think I'm definitely going to reduce it and look at it from a different angle. I think so. But yeah. Thank you. Yeah, so maybe a low buy. I wonder, like maybe I can. What I might do is see how much I've ended up spending on makeup this year. Definitely less than last year. Well, I don't know. I say that. Yeah, because I remember I did a video in February where I did like a Black Friday haul, but technically that was stuff I bought in November of last year. So when I think about how much I've bought this year, I think it's going to be less than last year. Um, but maybe I'll kind of set myself like a super strict budget, and that's how I'll go about it. I don't know. I don't know what's going to work the best to manage how much I acquire next year. It's just eyeshadow palettes are my weakness, and blush and highlight to a certain extent. Those are like the fun things, aren't they? Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, these brands are there to make a living, aren't they? They want to make money. They need us to buy stuff. They need us to. Um, and I guess it's just exercising that willpower, isn't it? Which can be hard. Which can be hard. But I think that's it. Just looking at what you've got. Um, yeah, look at what you've got and get joy from what you have already. I think that's what I need to do. I think there's been times when I've been guilty of being a bit impulsive and buying something new and then realizing you had that. Oops. So yeah, just being a bit cautious. I think so. Right, I might have to call it. It's just over it's about an hour and 10 minutes since I've been online, so I might call it an evening so I can start winding down. I don't know, part of me feels like I should film something while I've got a full face of makeup, but then it's also 8 o'clock. I was wondering if I should film a Black Friday video, but I don't know. A lot of Black Friday sales are almost over at this point. I don't know. Maybe I'll film something really quick. I'll see how I feel. I wonder if what I'm something I might do next year is maybe I'll do it is in a game of two halves. So I'll make a list when there's a new release that I really want. I'll write it down. I'll like all the information, all the details. I'll make a list of it, and then maybe come June, I'll review that list and see what I still want. Because I think that's like I feel like I'm a bit of a broken record here. I think that's the case sometimes when you buy certain palettes in the beginning of the year, and then by the end of the year, when you kind of reflect back on all of the releases, you think to yourself, oh, well, in hindsight, now I've got this palette. I wouldn't have bought that palette back in February. So maybe I'll do like a 6 months, 6 months. Yeah, I think the way that the brands handled the tariffs was a little bit tone deaf to everyone who wasn't in the US. It was like this mad panic and a mad scramble and this whole big thing about, oh no, like woe is me, what are we going to do? We can't sell to our US customer base. But there was little, every other customer seemed to be ignored. So that felt a bit off, definitely. And I get it as a company when your biggest source of income gets hit in that way. I understand it's difficult, but at the same time, perhaps don't talk about it in a way that could potentially alienate all the rest of your customer base. I feel like there's definitely a way to approach that to be more tactful, for want of a better phrase. Yeah, yeah. Right, I am going to wrap up because I think my throat's sore. I don't know if that's because I'm getting ill or if just because I've been talking for an hour non-stop. Probably the latter, to be fair. But I'm going to call it. I'm going to thank you so much for joining. It's because I know I didn't give that much notice. I think it was just over 4 hours. But thank you for joining and keeping me company and for chatting away. It's been very enjoyable. I always enjoy it when I do a live and people can actually join. So I'm very, very grateful. I'll keep you posted. I'll try to post more on communities. Um, I think I had scheduled a lot of Instagram posts, but I think they've all run out. So I need to reschedule some more Instagram posts. For the rest of the year, I don't know how and when I'm going to be posting, but hopefully 2026, I'll have a bit more of a schedule and a bit more of a direction for my channel. But thank you for joining. Thank you for checking in. And hopefully I'll see you again in a video in a not too distant future. Take care, everyone. Bye.